Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have a birthday card to share with you participating on the current My Favorite Things Sketch Challenge, which is an incredible, fabulous sketch. It's with stripes. You can decide to do something else in that area, of course, but I mean stripes. So I'm going to use some colorful cardstock later on to help me with my background, but first I'm coloring my specific stem set that I'm using today, which is the Thank My Lucky Stars. This stem set has been released a few months back, and at a certain period I didn't have the budget to buy it, so it was on my wish list and I got it for one of my Christmas presents, so I'm really excited to be coloring this one. I decided also to do yellow and blue. I know that my previous cards also had tons of yellow and blue, but it is really just, it's not something that I will be continuing to do all the time, yellow and blue, but yeah, it is by accident. It just happened. What I wanted to do here was to create some kind of a night sky kind of thing, but since I wanted to incorporate the stripes as on the specific sketch, I am doing an abstract kind of night sky. So I'm going to use several blue cardstocks and then a yellow one for the stars. So it really is abstract. If you want to, you can also do some ink blending in that area. I think even that one of the design team members, Linda, if I'm not mistaken, has also created an example for this sketch challenge using this stem set, using two images, using ink blending. So check it out, it is gorgeous. Also the other inspiration is amazing by the design team, but I really wanted to do the stripes, so here also with the Copic coloring I decided to go with blues and yellows, and maybe later on when I started assembling, it might have been better to do some BGs instead of the blue markers, because it would fit a bit better with the specific cardstocks that I'm going to use. But you can also see it as another blue in my assortment today. So I did some really soft, simple coloring here. I also must admit that this was so much fun that I created some more cards, the same idea. Other images from these stem sets were used, and then I also changed up the order of the colorful cardstocks in my background. So later on, at the end of the video, I will share a picture where I have those other cards put together to show you how easy a design like this, which is in my opinion definitely clean and simple. You can go, of course, crazy and make a scene card even with this design. It will be a bit harder, I think, but it's possible. But I truly love this specific sketch, and it also shows that there can be so many different cards with one design. As you see, all of the participants, all the design team members, we all created such different cards with that one idea. So it's a really strong sketch in my opinion. So definitely check it out if you want to participate. I think it's until Tuesday, so tomorrow, that you can upload things. So check that out if you want to participate for a gift certificate. Really fun. I also again tried my highlights here, so adding it. I also wanted to do something different with the flag, so there I'm going to add some stripes on top, but vertically. All details with the white jelly roll pen. I'm not an expert on this, so definitely check out other people if you want to get inspired how to add white jelly roll pen details. I'm doing this for maybe the 4th, 5th time in my life, so I am definitely not an expert on this. I do love how it looks, and also I think this was also one of the reasons why I went with some soft colors. Not too many contrasting markers, just really soft and then white highlights. Okay, so the cardstock that I'm going to use is from Concord, and I have an assortment. I used Buttercup, Aqua Sky, Oceanside, Peacock, Midnight, Sea Glass, not in this specific order. Yeah, and then I made sure to create some strips myself. They are all 1/4 of an inch wide. Why? Because the stem set that I'm going to use is the Itty Bitty Birthday, so the script is kind of small, and I didn't want it to get lost in the darkest stripe on my background, so I sort of took that into account while creating these strips. I also created several, as I wanted to create multiple cards with this design, but each time changing it a tiny bit. So here I was kind of figuring out how to place everything. I will later on create my background, but I just needed to make sure that it was kind of working out with the image, with the sentiment. So I made sure to lay it all out. I'm going to create and make a wish sentiment on top of my background later on. And then I took a piece of printer paper as being just a thin paper that will be easily cut through later on while die cutting, to create my A2 sized panel. If you want to, you can create an A2 sized panel, add the stripes, and then trim off the excess. But the thing is that I have these basic rectangles, A2 size basic die from my elephant, and there we have these stitching details. So I didn't want to overlap the stitching details with any stripes. So therefore, I created my pattern paper with these stripes. I'm going to add them, and then I will use my Transotype perfect coloring paper, add a panel on top, well, above the stripes and below, and then I will die cut my A2 sized panel all at once. So here I'm just making sure that I am adding everything right against each other to have a smooth panel later on. And then I'm going to add my white paper as well. Like that, and then I will trim out my A2 sized rectangle. So the only thing that I needed to take into account was to lay this rectangle straight with the stripes that I created, otherwise I would have had something wonky. And I wanted to use this to create my sentiment on top, so I needed to have everything straight. So I taped it down with some purple tape. I used this triangle to see whether the area below was exactly the same, and then my messy hair came peeping. And once I die cut it, I could white heat emboss the sentiment on top of that darkest stripe. That specific stripe is a midnight blue. It's gorgeous, from Concord and 9th. I made sure to prep my cardstock here, and then I could stamp it out a few times to have a crisp impression. I'm taking my white embossing powder from Ranger. It's a really fine one, so that's really handy if you have thin scripts or small sentiments, so that you can read everything while melting it as well. Next, I'm going to add my foam behind the images. I'm using thin foam squares, and then before adhering it, I will buff off the excess anti-static powder because at the moment you can see that there is still this white area on top of my background, so we need to get rid of that as well. So I'm making sure that I'm covering as much of this back of the images as possible. The stars are really tiny, so I made sure to snip some tiny squares, and then I could start adhering after buffing off. So here you can see now it really jumps off that dark blue because we removed the anti-static powder. And now I'm going to remove all of the backings and add my images on top. Since I used some white jelly roll pen details on my images, I'm not going to add any glossy accents or stickles. The stars are my embellishments, so I'm not going to add anything more. If I wouldn't have added the white jelly roll pen details, I think I would have used the glossy accents or the stickles to help me get a bit more interest, but the white jelly roll pen is already really pretty on top. So that is going to be my card for today. As I said, I made some more cards really similar, but just a tiny bit different because this is just a great design. I hope that you will check out this sketch, and of course all of the inspiration that is out there. You might get inspired as well. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll be back soon with some new crafty inspiration. Bye!